everybody, what is up? And welcome back to the Starving Artist Development Podcast, where we talk to different cultural artists here in the city about the highs, the lows, artist development, and how they're using their creativity to move the city forward. I'm your host, Gabrielle Carruthers. Today, I am joined by a wonderful guest who has the patience of a saint. Let me just say that. and, and this young man is a pillar in the entrepreneurial community. He is well versed in helping individuals transition from their 9 to 5 into full-time entrepreneurship by providing structure and alignment for individuals. And this is really important to have, especially if you are a creative but you are lacking structure within your business. He is also the owner of Housewarming, which is a flooring company as well. But of course, his passion really falls in line with mentorship, coaching, and simply aligning those who are ready to take the full leap into entrepreneurship. Today, I would like to welcome my guest, Kirk Welsh. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Well said. Well said.
How are you doing on this beautiful evening?
I'm doing amazing. Today is actually my birthday, so I get to spend this evening with you. Yeah, I didn't let you know, but spending this evening with you. Appreciate you.
Well, feliz cumpleaños y una más.
Muchas gracias.
Which is happy birthday and many more in Spanish.
Habla español. Yeah.
I mean, me habla español is así, so I still necesito. Is it necesito trabajo? Like I need to work on it.
Trabajar. Yo necesito trabajar un poquito.
Lo siento. Look at us. See, look, because black people, we know how to code switch too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But yes, but again, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. So I want to get into a few questions. Being that this podcast is about artist development, of course, we want to offer as much information to aspiring artists or creative entrepreneurs, those that are looking into diving into full-time creative entrepreneurship, or those that have a 9 to 5 that are still balancing their creative endeavors. So I know for you, again, I know you were an owner of a business and you've been an entrepreneur for quite some time, but when did you decide that it was time to dive into entrepreneurship full time?
You're bringing me chills with that question because it's bringing me right back to that moment. And it's a moment that I remember because it was important for a bunch of different reasons. It was actually my son's first birthday. It was also important because I sat in a room and I was an advocate for our community. So I've been an architect for a decade and a half, practicing architecture, and I was working on a DPS school. And I sat in a 4-hour meeting. I was managing a $40 million project. So I sat in a meeting and it was 4 hours and it was on my son's birthday. And I just heard everybody talking. We had been working on this project for about 2 years and I was stressed out. And I sat up here and I was like, I'm sitting up here working on a project, blood, sweat, and tears, losing sleep. And I'm building a building, or I'm designing a building and managing this project that's going to stand for decades, but I can't pass this down to my son at all. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment where I realized that I was building something that didn't have any legacy, that I didn't own, and I was working hard for something that wasn't mine. And in that moment, that's when I first realized that it's time to make a transition. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that it was time. So I was super convinced and convicted at that moment to transition into entrepreneurship. I knew the what, didn't know the how.
That is such a compelling story. The fact that you kind of had that moment, in the midst of all of that organized chaos, as they say.
Yeah.
And just knowing that although I am a part of something that is big,
mm-hmm.
I want to be sure to leave my legacy, which is something bigger than myself, right?
Man.
So as a result of that, should I stick around and continue to contribute to somebody else's dreams, mm-hmm. or build my own?
Yeah.
And it's different when you have kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm a mother, and I remember when it was just me and it wasn't me, my husband, and my daughter. And now that I am knocking on 40, still got a couple of years, but legacy, that is so important, right? And it's even more important to continue to build generational wealth because this is something that a lot of millennials were not taught growing up. So now we're trying to instill those values into our children so that way we could not only preserve but continue to build on the legacy that our ancestors, you
Oh yeah.
know, went through hell and back for
Yep.
us, right? But
Yep.
didn't have the tools and resources like we do now. So for you, you've essentially created a system
Hmm.
for the 9 to 5er to transition into full-time entrepreneurship. What does that look like?
Yeah, structure. I created a structuring journey because I'm helping the person that I needed. I'm becoming the person that I needed at that moment in time when it came to transition over. Because many of us had a desire to transition over, but we don't know how difficult it is. It's a difficult leap, and if you don't have it structured, a lot of people crash and burn, and they end up going back, and then you're in this vicious cycle because you left because of misalignment, and then you jumped over and you misaligned because you don't have yourself internally aligned, and then you end up right back. And life is too short to be living like that. It's
Yeah.
way too short to be living like that. So, when I branched over into entrepreneurship, that taught me a ton. That taught me the work that I need to be doing right now, which is I'm Kirk Welsh, the architect of alignment. So what that looks like is it helps 9 to 5 professionals that are convinced and convicted that they need to get into entrepreneurship. It's not to convince you to get into entrepreneurship. You already know at this point, this is what I need to do. You just don't know the how. So what this does is it helps you to create a 6 to 12 month transition plan because your external success is going to be determined by your internal alignment. A lot of people are looking at external success and they're looking at the things that they're going to get, but you're going to crash and burn if you're not ready, you're not aligned internally, if you don't have the discipline, the daily habits, the structure, the money management. If you don't have that plan to transition over, you're gonna kill your savings and you're gonna be a starving artist.
Yes. Yes, yes, you will be. Trust me, I know. Look, I know. It is so important to have those systems in place. And I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, sometimes you leap into entrepreneurship out of desperation, but also out of it looks cool on the
Yeah.
internet, right? I mean,
Hmm.
entrepreneurship looks so glamorous on the internet, and a lot
Hmm.
of people glamorize it. But in hindsight, when you really get down to the nitty gritty, entrepreneurship would not only teach you how to build a sustainable business, but it will also teach you what kind of person you actually are. And it is going to test you. It is
Yep.
going to test you on the days where you're trying to just propel forward. But essentially, it all comes down to mindset.
Yeah.
And you can have like all of the structure, set up, and you can have all the systems set up. But if your mind isn't in alignment with your systems, you're bound to crash and burn, right? So for you, when you are dealing with clients and you know that their mindset is not in alignment with the systems that you've already built, are there times where even you have to say to yourself, I may have to pull back from this mentorship because I want to make sure that they fully understand what they're diving into?
Oh, yeah. 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 I don't take on anybody. My brand and my name is super important, and I want to lead people to the successful lifestyle that you can have in entrepreneurship. It is the best or one of the best decisions that I've actually made in my life. I was gonna say the best, but I have a son. That's one of the best decision I made. It's a ton of other good things, but transitioning over into entrepreneurship is the or one of the best things that I've done for sure. And it is the biggest personal development program in life. All of your weaknesses gonna get exposed. Like You can't bury nothing because it's going to be out in the light, and sunlight sanitizes. So
Mm,
whether you want to bring them out or not, they're going to get exposed. So you're going to have to deal with it anyway. So when it comes to picking and choosing clients to work with, I'm extremely picky with that because I want you to succeed. And if you're going to fight against yourself at the end of the day, you're doing yourself a disservice. So that's why I said that I only work with clients and individuals that know that it's time to go. I'm not about to sit up here and convince you that you need to transit. You have to decide that for yourself. And I will help guide you. I will love on you. I will pour into you. I will help you for sure. I will be up late nights like I usually am, helping you make that transition successfully. Because once you make that transition, I love to see the impact. That's why I got into this thing. Like once I've seen people successfully running businesses and dealing with life in general and becoming better outside of the business, that filled me up way more than any impact that I can help working on an architecture project any day.
mm. All right. And I know, um, being a well-versed architect and project manager, there's an artistry with architect, right? That a lot of people don't understand or realize. Like when you go into a building and you look at a physical building, it took for somebody to have to imagine something
Hmm.
like this and then to put it on paper and then to bring it to life, right? And with any type of creative endeavor or even launching into entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
you have to literally visualize your success happening and
Cool.
then bringing it to life. And you have to put it on paper, right? And that's where those systems come into play. And I know for you, you can definitely relate as, an architecture and project manager, the ideation process and then sitting down and making a plan and then working towards that plan and
Hmm.
then seeing the plan out into fruition.
Yep.
But with any plan, you can plan as much as you want to, right? And sometimes things don't go as planned. So you have to be uh prepared enough to pivot, right?
Yeah.
Now, for you, since we're talking about the power in the pivot, can you please tell me the difference in when you were working a 9 to 5 versus your day-to-day schedule as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's an amazing question. That's an amazing question. That's why I say entrepreneurship is the biggest personal development program you can ever get into in life. Because when you're working at a job and you're working under that system, you have, let's just say, a 9 to 5. I mean, people work 8 to 6, whatever the case may be. But your schedule is set from 9 to 5. Those 8 hours are set. And after that, you have a couple of hours before you go to sleep. You may get off work and drive around, go to Target or go to the grocery store or go watch Netflix. It's just, you don't have, or you may go to the gym, but you have maybe 4 hours to yourself, 4 or 5 hours to yourself before it's time to go to bed. And then even if you had kids, you got 1 hour to yourself. If that, maybe 30 minutes.
Okay.
So your calendar is already set. But once you get into entrepreneurship, you got 24 hours you got to figure out.
Mm,
And people the underestimate the bondage of freedom because you could be free, but you could be just doing stuff that's just wasting more time than if you were at work. So when you get into entrepreneurship, you have to manage your entire 24 hours. And the hours that you work, it can't be busy work. It has to be work that's pushing the business forward. So when I start my day, the first thing I had to do transitioning into entrepreneurship before I did was I had to protect my mornings. So
mm,
every morning I have 4 or 5 hours to myself. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, in the gym by 5:30. I work out every single day, every day. I move my body, and it's not for the physique; it's for energy. You need the energy to be able to keep up with all of the challenges that you have to encounter as an entrepreneur. After that, I go home and I read. I feed my brain. So you need to be reading in order to feed your brain things so you can function well and problem solve. And then after that, I meditate, and then I get in the shower. I fast until probably the afternoon, and I eat at 12. But in between the time where I take a shower and then I eat, I have a very structured time block where I do work that is going to push the business forward. And then in the afternoons, I take calls. But the point I'm making is you go from where somebody structures your calendar to you having to structure your calendar and making it make sense, because you still have to have relationships. You still have to be a father or a mother. You still have to make sure the finances are straight. You still have to make sure your mental is straight. So how do you do all of that in the time that you have allotted?
Mm.
So yeah, that's the difference between working a 9 to 5 and your calendar being set to being in entrepreneurship and you have 24 hours to figure out what you're going to do there.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I noticed too, I mean, like I said, I worked in every sector,
Mm-hmm.
as stated earlier when we were talking offline, and just the different kinds of structures. Like when you're a gig worker versus when you work for yourself
Mm-hmm.
as a freelancer versus when you work a traditional 9 to 5 or salary job, or when you work a 9 to 5 but it's remote, so you can kind of control your schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe get like 4 or 8 hours worth of work done in a 4 hour time frame, just depending on what type of field of work you're into or whatever. But I know for me, going through the journey of finally saying, okay, I am going to work for myself again after like the
Okay.
second or third time, but I'm going to do it correctly,
Yeah. There
because
you
the
go.
first time, I'm doing it because it looked cool. And that was in 2018, but I also still had a flexible enough job where I was traveling and managing accounts for a major coffee brand and like 5 different major companies. I mean, major areas, whatever. And that opened up my eyes to the possibility of entrepreneurship
Mm-hmm.
because I had that much freedom, right? Even though I had a schedule, I still had freedom. But now that I took a step back from working in education
Mm-hmm.
and realizing it's not just you anymore, you have a family
Oh,
and you
we.
have responsibilities. And with those responsibilities, you have to have some type of structure. And even with structure, you have to have boundaries.
Oh, yes.
You learn about yourself when you become an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some parts about entrepreneurship and self discovery where even sometimes you have to take a step back and say, okay, is this in alignment with my future self, or is it in alignment with the person that I used to be, but I want to do better?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And even for me, I noticed that I had an issue with setting boundaries because I was always a give, give, give type of person until it came down to what you just said: preserving your mornings,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you have the energy to even do the work,
Mm-hmm.
taking that time out to meditate, to pray, to journal, to feed your mind. So that way you are then able to feed into the minds of others.
Yep.
That time is sacred. And I know sometimes with a 9 to 5, it can be a little difficult, but it's still important, even if you're in the process of venturing into entrepreneurship, or even if you decide, hey, I want to keep my 9 to 5, but I want to try to structure some things as if I were an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yep.
So for the people that are still working a 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
they're relying on their 9 to 5 and they're not ready to dive into entrepreneurship. When it comes to structuring your day,
Yeah.
what would you recommend for just the 9 to 5er that doesn't want to pursue entrepreneurship?
That's good. That's good. Because I think people think it's an all or none thing. And it is in between. That's why the architect of alignment program is a 6 to 12 month transition plan. Like, I don't want you jumping off the cliff and going straight into it. You have to plan it. But so you start out as a full-time employee. You are an employee and you operate like an entrepreneur until it's time for you to transition over into entrepreneurship. But if you want to stay in that entrepreneur, that employee role, you can and operate as an entrepreneur, because there's such thing as entrepreneurs. You can be a entrepreneur within your company. But I would say the first thing that you want to do is you want to carve out your mornings, because that's the time that you have to yourself. You know, the saying goes like, you have a 9 to 5, but what do you do from your 5 to 9? And when I first thought about that, I thought about 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And it didn't dawn on me that there's a 5 a.m. to a 9 a.m. So you want to focus on the 5 a.m. to the 9 a.m. And that's what I would say the first thing is for you to do. When you have these 4 hours to yourself before work, before people start calling you and asking you to do this or do that, how can you structure those 4 hours? Because that's going to determine how you can structure the rest of your day. So I would say that's the first thing that you want to do. You want to pour into yourself before you give to anybody else. And the moment that I decided to leave, like, I had an epiphany in that room when I had the 4 hour meeting. But the moment I decided to leave and I called my boss that I had a great relationship with, I opened up my laptop at 6 a.m. in the morning and I was working until 12 noon and realized that I didn't shower, I didn't brush my teeth, and I didn't eat breakfast. And that's when I said, I have to structure my 5 to 9. And I started to get up earlier, go to the gym, even if it was for 30 minutes, or walk outside or something like that. I started to structure my morning before.
That no, that's important. And you know, as a parent,
Yeah,
when you are a parent and you are working, and sometimes you have to wake up at 5 in the morning, and you're literally trying to just dedicate a little bit of time to yourself before, catering to your child or to your significant other.
yeah,
And even though, even with having a supportive partner or a supportive, significant other, sometimes you're still struggling with pouring into yourself. And for me, I worked in education for a minute as well. Like, I literally walked away from work in education
mm,
because of that same thing, where I just noticed, I was like, I haven't eaten all day.
hmm,
I've been holding my
yep,
urine for three
yep,
hours. This is ridiculous. Like, I haven't eaten a snack. I haven't drunk any water. Like, I haven't really fully processed my day because I'm just moving like a machine. And I'm not a machine. I'm
yep,
a person. I'm a human being. I have human feelings, and I want to nurture those feelings. I want to, smell the dewy grass, or, if it's raining in the morning, I want to smell the rain. I want to smell my cup of coffee. I want to enjoy a hug from my child and not feel overstimulated first thing in the morning,
hmm,
right?
yeah,
So what you're saying, it definitely, it resonates with me. And I know it probably resonates with a lot of people that are watching this episode or will be watching this episode. And hopefully they can find some type of soul lines in this episode, because with us being millennials and with us trying to figure everything out, right? There are things that we were not taught growing up that we now have to reparent and educate ourselves in order to do better and to be better, not only
yeah,
for our children, but for ourselves, right?
yeah,
So, even with mentorship is essentially, I feel like it deals with guiding somebody, but it's essentially a reparenting, a retooling, right? And it's to help you to be better, not just structurally, but mentally as well.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because you have to be mentally strong in order to do anything that has to deal with entrepreneurship or just day-to-day stuff. Like,
Day
you
to
have
day
to
stuff.
really be able to deal with it, right?
Day to day
So
stuff. Like, entrepreneurship. I mean, you said a bunch of great things there. So just one thing I want to hit on is just imagine, like, when you are aligned internally and then you do have the time to do things outside of things that demand from you, how much you can give to the world, how much impact you can have, how much you can help. another person how successful a business for you could be, or how successful a relationship you can have, or how successful a spiritual relationship you can have. Because I often think about, it's five different pillars that you want alignment in life, and that's spiritual. uh, I don't care what you believe in, what God or God you don't believe in, but when I say spiritual, I mean your purpose. What is your purpose? Mental. How strong are you mentally? Because whether you like it or not, things gonna happen to you in life. So how you gonna continue to keep going? Physical. Your energy levels. Uh, uh, what is it? Relational. The fourth one is relational. You have to have relationships. Relationships make all of this stuff meaningful. Like, I don't care about the money. I care about the relationships I have with the money, because I want to be able to take care of others around me. And then last but not least, financial. You got to be able to have the financial alignment to be able to pursue whatever you want to. I don't care. You don't have to become a billionaire, multimillionaire, whatever, but you have to know how to manage money to be able to have alignment in business and in yourself, because everything costs money.
Yes.
Everything you got behind you costs some money.
It took years to collect too. Took
Yo.
years. Well, some of these vinyls belong to my dad, so I took some of those. But yes, yes. Everything costs money. You one thing about starting a business, if you don't have no money.
Or you don't know how to manage it. If you're not ready, if you're not I heard a saying, don't give me $1 million until I'm a millionaire. Like, you gotta have the mind state, the habits, the whatever, if you want whatever amount of money that you want. Because if you don't have it, it's gone. And when I first started business, I had been working, saved up 100,000, a little over $100,000, and I started a real estate project, and somebody ran off with $104,000. It wasn't his fault; it was mine, because I wasn't the person that can manage that money.
Mm.
It came to me, and I lost it because I wasn't aligned. So you got to get your internal self together before you start to wish, hope, and pray for things in life.
I'm getting my life today too.
For
So
sure.
even though I'm doing the interview, I should be taking notes as well. I should get one of my mini notebooks from Marshalls and TJ Maxx that we buy. Women, we own a whole bunch of journals and notebooks,
For
and
sure.
then we don't use them. But we make a plan to make a plan to make a
For sure.
plan,
For sure.
and they sit here and they stack up on the bookshelf, and then they just sit there, right? But I I'm done buying journals until I finally fill up the ones that I already have.
For sure.
But again, this is just this information is feeding the soul. So absolutely, everything that you're saying is spot on. It's spot on, and people have to understand. Like, not only do you have to be in alignment, but community is really important.
Yeah.
And building community and building a solid community and building sustainable relationships, right? And sometimes their relationships may look like, how can I be of service to you, and to not expect anything in return per se,
Yeah.
right? But to
Yes.
just be there, right? And with any entrepreneur or just any person, you don't necessarily have to join a fraternity or a sorority to build community. You can build community by just saying, hey, I would like to sit and have a cup of coffee with you and maybe do like a quick, 10-minute chat about some stuff. And then see what I can do in order to help you be a pillar in what you're doing, right? Now, for you, I know that you set up the structure for 9 to 5ers that are transitioning into entrepreneurship, but how would you suggest to any person that is starting their entrepreneurial journey? How would you, it's the best way to say this, how would you encourage them to build community outside of like their job or their family?
Beautiful question. Beautiful question. When I think about relationships, a lot of times, or I'm just gonna speak for myself before, or I'm just gonna speak for us. Like, we try to find like-minded people, and that's helpful, but it's also hurtful too. It's helpful because you have someone. It's helpful to the ego because you have somebody to validate whatever feelings that you have, whether positive or negative. But I read something in a book and it talked about finding like-hearted people, you know. And now I approach relationships by finding like-hearted people. We don't have to be like-minded because I love a person that has a different opinion of me because I get to learn. But if you got the same opinion of me, we just in the conversation, feeding each other up and whatever, but you're not growing as a person. You have to constantly grow as a person. You know, growth is, it makes you feel alive. But when you find like-hearted people, you know, people that, a like-hearted person is, if you're a loving person, they're a loving person. Even if they have a different political view on things or they have a different religious view or whatever view, you can still build a community with that person because if they are a loving person, you're gonna feel the love. You're gonna feel the love from the challenge and things like that. You're gonna grow in the aspect. So I would say to anybody out there that is looking to develop relationships outside of, you know, family and friends and building a community, find like-hearted people because those will be people on the same mission that you on. You know, it's different paths. The like-mindedness is the different paths to be able to get there, but the like-heartedness is the fact that you're going to end up at the same destination.
I like that. I like that. And I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Something that we oftentimes do as individuals, we cling to things that feel familiar,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
not realizing or understanding that sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and you have to meet with other people that might not even be in your industry
Yep.
to one, continue to build those relationships, but not only do you further your relationships with people that are outside of your industry, but then you open a door to something new that you may not have known that you needed for your business. And
Yes.
now you have a connection to a financial advisor. Now you
Yes.
have a connection to a grant writer. Now you have a connection to somebody who owns a content creation studio and you need
Yes.
some content shot at the studio or a podcast studio, right? Instead of, hey, with me being a dance educator, always connecting with other dance educators or choreographers or performers, connecting with other people outside of my industry and building community that way, you would be surprised at what you learn.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's one thing to meet with like-minded individuals, but if you are not being challenged on a
Yeah.
regular, even if it's reading a book that you're not familiar with,
Hmm.
sometimes we go and we read the fiction books because they're entertaining, but maybe consider reading a book about, I don't know, the art of sewing or something
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
something
Something. Yeah.
random, and you would be surprised at how much creativity you spark when you think outside of the box because it does challenge you in many ways.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well said.
But yes, no, I like I said, I you have offered a wealth of knowledge. And this is something that I know for me when I was starting out, I wish I had this growing up. I wish that I had a mentor or a coach who was willing to sit down with me and to explain to me why you need to have certain things in place before you move forward with other things. And I think I could have avoided a lot of mistakes, launching 2 or 3 businesses and then all of them failing because I always forgot the 1 or 2 things each time I would launch that business. I launched it the same way every time instead of really sitting down and talking to somebody who knew how to structure and find funding for their business.
Yeah.
And then of course I've been on the opposite end where funding was secured, the building was secured, the
Mhm.
business was structured,
Talk
and
about
I
it.
did a partnership pullout.
Yep.
And it was because of like some other stuff that was going on with me. But I dwell on that too. And I dwell on, hey, you actually did everything right for the first time. Life it
Like be
does what it
life.
wants to do. But you live and you learn, right? And that's the whole point in just developing your mindset as an artist or even as a creative entrepreneur. Because one thing you don't want to live in is that starving artist mindset. You
Yeah.
just don't. And that's the reality for a lot of creative entrepreneurs right now, and people in general that just want to start a business because it looks fun when you have all of this freedom. But freedom comes with a cost.
Oh
And that's
yeah.
what people don't understand. It comes with a cost.
Oh yeah. You're gonna pay the price. Whether you're gonna pay the price being an employee, you're gonna pay the price being an entrepreneur. You just pick your poison.
Yep.
You said
As they
something.
say, it pays the cost to be the boss for real.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And you said something. You said it was just mental. It's the starving artist mentality. You got to deal with that. That's internal. That's not external. It's gonna play out externally. When I was just say when I didn't hold myself accountable internally, and I started to build a team because I have a team now. I didn't hold them accountable, and that almost tanked the business. I had to deal with that internally, and since doing all of that work and showing up as a better leader, that only helped the business out better. And now being a coach that helps other people, you have to understand that uh, you can only take people as deep as you've gone yourself. If you
Mhm.
were not willing to do the work or go down deep, 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 you can't expect anybody else that you coach or that you help in the process go down that far. You can only take people as far as you have gone personally yourself. That's why I'm huge on investing in yourself. I paid a ton of money in coaching, like almost 200,000 in coaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's helped me out a ton. It's helped me make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And it's things that I can take with me forever.
And like you said, investing in yourself. A lot of people don't want to invest in themselves, and it takes money to make money. People don't understand that entrepreneurship is not glamorous, y'all. It's not glamorous, but baby, let me tell you, it will shine a light on
Oh,
your
yeah.
character.
Yeah.
It will also shine a light on your values and your beliefs, and it will cause you to have to get in alignment with yourself, with your community, with your structure. But ultimately, what I think when I think about entrepreneurship, although you will be tested, there will be trials and tribulations that you will come up against. But if you can propel through any of this stuff, right? I feel like you will come out an even better person
Oh, yeah. Amen.
because you've learned so much, not only about the business, but about yourself as an individual. And you can then pass on that knowledge to others. And like you said, you can only tell others what you've already been through, right? You can't so much preach on something that you're not familiar with. But sometimes even God puts things on us that we think we can't handle until it's time to put on that full armor and then to be a steward and to help others. And we don't understand why he puts the things that he puts on us at the time, but I promise you, that is your story. That
Yes.
is what is going to help you serve people. So it's not a matter of what is happening to me, but what is happening for me.
Amen.
So then I can be of service to you all.
Yep.
Don't don't get me.
Amen. Preach. Preach, Deacon.
Because sometimes I will venture off and then I will find myself diving into a spiritual manifesto because
Hmm.
you know, right? And when you've gone through it, you can easily say, listen, I've been there. I've been through the fire. I have, cried. I have
Yeah.
doubted myself. I have
Oh, yeah.
lost money. I've
Yeah.
made it back, and I've lost it again. It has
Hmm.
tested my faith. It has tested my business. It has tested my relationships with people, right? But ultimately, the most beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is finding out who you are as an individual and then celebrating that. And for you to now be able to take what you know and what you've learned and the decision that you made for you and for your family and for preserving your legacy. First things first. I mean, my hat off to you. Look, my hat off to you. And most importantly, you being a black man in America and you recognizing the importance of breaking generational curses, building generational wealth, while also preserving your own physical, mental, and spiritual well being.
Amen.
And that's something that a lot of black men struggle with a lot because they were not provided those tools, they were not provided those resources. And then for those that may not have had those resources, some are now learning how to reparent themselves, right? So I know your journey is a beautiful beginning, right? And many more beautiful things to come. And one, I just want to commend you for taking that leap of faith and for saying, I'm going to do this because it's bigger than me. It's
Yes.
bigger than me. It is bigger
Amen.
than me.
Way bigger than me.
Now, if you can impart any wisdom on any aspiring artist or any creative entrepreneur that is looking to take that leap of faith from leaving their 9 to 5 into full-time entrepreneurship, what would you tell them?
Know your why. You gotta know your why. If you just doing it just because, then it probably is gonna crash and burn when it start getting difficult. But if you know your why, if you know you're doing this for your family, if you know you're doing this to be an inspiration for another, maybe if you know you're doing this to make a million or $1 billion, or you doing this to stun on your ex or whatever. I'm not here to determine whatever your why is, but you sit and determine what your why is before you make any step, anything. That's the first thing that we do if you and I work together, is to figure out your why, because your bag of whys has to be so deep to get you through these moments, because they coming. They coming. And you have to be able to dig into that bag of whys. Um, I went to school in Puerto Rico. That's why I know Spanish. And the entire program was in Spanish. I was the first Black American period to graduate from that school. And I went through everything. I lived 7 months without electricity after Hurricane Maria. I'm talking the whole island our area didn't have electricity. I'm talking nothing for 7 months. We went through a strike for a couple of months. We went through times where it was no water but every 2 or 3 days. But my why was so big that nobody could take me away from that situation. Like, I remember my mom and everybody after the hurricane was like, "You crazy? You living down there without electricity? You need to come back." But my vision was so clear. I said, my why was to be the first person American that ever graduated from this program, to become Spanish speaking. I had a vision of seeing all of these people in this arena that's graduating, and my mama and my brother and whoever I invited, we the only Black people up in there, and that they don't understand Spanish, but I do. And that's exactly what happened. And my bag of whys was so big that I couldn't let myself give up. So I would say to anybody out there that is trying to accomplish anything within entrepreneurship or outside of entrepreneurship, your bag of whys need to be big, because that's what's gonna get you through at the end of the day when things get tough.
Let me get the tissue. Because you just pulled on the heartstrings of everybody.
That's the work we're doing.
Kurt, thank you. Thank you so much. And I really do mean that. Thank you for taking this time to sit down and to break bread with us and to offer your expertise and to continue to offer your expertise on the Starving Artist Development Podcast. And I just want to say what you are doing, what you continue to do, you are breaking so many stereotypes, but also you are leading a generation into this artistry with your architecture, your project development, your mentorship, your being a father, and essentially the fact that you even went through what you went through, graduating from the school and just being
Yeah.
the first, right? I mean, your story is dope.
Thank
Like, and I'm saying that because it's so beautiful, and your testimony. Honestly, I know for me, even if it is one person that hears or sees this interview,
you.
which it
Yes.
won't be, but even if it's just one person, the thing is, at the end of the day, you are doing the Lord's work. You're doing what you need to
Amen.
do in order to secure your legacy. And I know that if there were a recording of this somewhere, that once your son is old enough and you can replay this recording, I know that he is going to champion you and he is going to be your biggest cheerleader. He is going to be so proud to call you his father because you are doing the damn.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means so much to me. And thank you for inviting me on here to talk and share the story you made. I'm such a private person. I don't even share intimate stories like that, but you brought it all out of me. So thank you so much and just being great energy. And we met via email, but you've always been a great vibe. So
That's it. That's
lighthearted,
it. That's
lighthearted.
building community. That's
Yep.
building community, and that's trusting your instinct and saying, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot, and me trust my instinct too, because I was like,
I don't know if this.
join me on Google.
You say this
Let me
Kirk
see
Welsh.
on
Hold on.
Google.
Black man named Kirk Welsh. What's going
I'm like, hold on, I got to talk to him real quick. I got to see his. No. I honestly, I welcome everybody. I do not discriminate. I want to
Yeah,
talk to everybody.
for sure. It's
Um,
all
but
jokes.
but specifically, I want to love on my people.
Amen.
I want to love on my people, and I want to provide a space for my people because I know how hard it is when I was an educator and how these opportunities are not available to some of the youth. So I'm like, I'm gonna make sure I love on them
Yeah,
first. Gotta
for
love on
sure.
them first, right?
For sure.
But where can we find you on social media?
Oh yeah, man. You can find me on Instagram at Kirk D as in David Welsh. Kirk D Welsh, my first, middle initial, last name. And then I want to do something special for our people too. If they're watching a podcast and they follow me on Instagram, if you just message me Gabby EA or Gabrielle EA, I'll send you my playbook for like if you want to hire an executive assistant, or no. Better yet, I'll share my playbook for setting up your morning rhythm and the things that I do in terms of my Google Calendar, everything. I share that with you, no strings attached. Just follow me on Instagram and just put Gabrielle morning routine, or just put Gabrielle, and I know exactly where you come from. And I'm only sending that to people that send that basic, basically that code to me. But you can follow me on Instagram or find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. First name Kirk, last name Welsh, and that's where I operate.
And I will be sure to also include that in my link on my Instagram as well as all of our social media platforms, so that way people can access your information. Because like I said, you have a wealth of knowledge that I feel like if anybody is going to work with somebody, like they should definitely work with you, because really it is a mindset thing, right? But also it is structural. And if you don't know where to start, holla at my boy Kirk. He gonna get you
Yeah,
together. Because
yeah.
that's the person you want to talk to, right?
I'm gonna pour
But
into
yeah,
you. I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna give you. Look, I'm carrying you across that line. If you
okay.
convinced, I'm dragging you. I'm gonna love on you. So we'll love to work with you if that is you, and you are convinced that you need to transition over into entrepreneurship. You are convinced and you convicted. I got
And love is in need of love today, according to Stevie Wonder. So,
you.
well, everybody, I would like to thank you all for joining us on today's episode of the Starving Artist Development Podcast. Of course, if you would like to shoot us an email, you can always email us at info@starvingartistdevelopment.com. You can visit our website too, www.starvingartistdevelopment.com. There is a comment section all the way at the bottom if you want to just shoot me a quick message real quick. Even if some of you are looking to interview on the podcast, you can definitely shoot your information over. But of course, we got to talk first. But other than that, we're also on Instagram and we are on Facebook. You can follow us at Starving Artist Development. And we are featured on when I say every streaming platform, we are on every streaming platform, including YouTube. So you can watch the video episode on YouTube, but you can listen to the audio podcast on any podcast streaming platform. And I want to give a special shout out to Demetrius of the Black Podcast Awards, who made that possible for this Black podcaster. So thank you so much, Demetrius, for that. But thank you all again for joining us on today's episode of the Starving Artist Development Podcast. I look forward to kicking it with you all soon. Talk to you later.